Hello and welcome back to Hunter's Walk with Jesus. I am driving down to the lake, and we're going to read in Mark 2 today. But before that, I want to just get on here and voice some of my frustrations. Sometimes it's really hard for me to get on here and talk about my frustrations because I feel like I'm not being very Jesus-like. I actually came on here the other day and I didn't post the video, and I told myself when I started this channel, I'm going to be as raw as possible and as authentic as I can, but it's still, that voice in my head still gets to me and says, you can't be doing that if you're a Christian. You can't be swearing. You can't be cussing. You can't be, pointing your fingers at people and stuff like that. And it was awfully related to Mark 2. And when I read Mark, or it was the end of Mark 1, I think, when I was reading that video, or when I initially filmed that video, I was reading the end of Mark 1, and it's where Jesus casts out this demon and stuff like that. And it was awfully related. I didn't want to post it because I felt like I was, I don't know, maybe using the power of Jesus and the power of his name to cast out a demon and bragging about it. I wasn't bragging about it, but I don't want to come off that I am bragging about it, because I feel like when we do that, when we're like, oh, we have Jesus now, we have all this stuff, and we use it for our own power, I think he kind of takes a step back from us, personally. So I'm trying to come off in a way that's not like arrogant and not prideful, because realistically, I don't do anything. It's all him. It's all him. So I'm gonna come on here real quick and voice some frustrations that I've had the last couple days. Obviously, we got this house. We got approved offer and stuff like that. So I've been foot to the floor non-stop the last couple days, selling cars, trying to come up with some money. This will probably be one of the last videos that you guys see in the Tesla, actually, because we're actually selling it back to Carvana, which will put us over the money threshold that we need to be, comfortable with putting down this big down payment and all that kind of stuff. So we're probably just going to sell the Tesla and get, a minivan or something like that, something cheap, which I'm excited for, because this car really isn't that big for 2 kids and a dog and a husband and a wife. So, yeah. So the last couple days I've been selling some stuff. I went through and I sold my all-wheel drive Civic, and that was great. The guy came up, looked at it, went through it with a fine-tooth comb, and I sold it for kind of cheap. But the car's probably worth more than what I sold it for if I want to sit around and wait for the right person to come buy it and all this kind of stuff. And dealing with the stress of the internet sometimes, especially when you're selling like a modified car like this that's like special and whatever, the stress really gets to me, guys, because it's like, it's just nonstop. These people are just blowing your phone up, and they're asking you 100 questions, and like a lot of them are like, hey, you take this much money, and half the time you say yes. I shouldn't say half the time. 99% of the time you say yes to a lowball offer over Messenger, and they're still not going to come through. They're just doing it to win, you know what I mean, per se. And that's literally how demonic people operate. They will... I read something, I don't know where it was, if it was in Proverbs. I was reading Proverbs on my own the other day. And it mentioned something along the lines of demons, or people that have, demonic stuff in their life, whatever. They can't rest until they put somebody else down. And it's so true in my life, personally, because I've had instances like that where people will be like, all right, I won the argument, I win, all right, now I can move on. But realistically, none of us have won. The only one that has won is Jesus Christ. And I'm trying to get better at saying it in Hebrew. Yeshua, I can't say the last part, Meshiniach or Yeshua. I'm trying to pronounce it better. Trying to get better at it. But he's the only one that's truly won. So for us to say that we've won in anything is a lie. You know, we've won temporarily maybe for this little earthly thing that we're doing, but there is no victory without Jesus. So just something to remind ourselves with. I hope everybody's doing good. I have, like I said, been extremely just tapped out. I've been tapped out. And sometimes it's tough, like, especially when I'm feeling that way and I'm tapped out, stressed out, burnt out, whatever. The last thing I reach for is Bible or prayer or anything like that. And I'll be honest, a lot of times my days are so much better when I come on here and start my day like this. And I'm on here just trying to spill out my heart and spill out my thoughts to you guys. And I think it does help me. So it's kind of like my own little therapy session. And realistically, I love going to therapy and I love therapists and I've met some awesome people through therapy, but it costs money at the end of the day. And I don't know, this is free. So I can just turn my camera on, do this, and talk to you guys. So yeah, so that's the first thing that I noticed with just people that are kind of demonic that way. And there's also people that have messaged me through a lot of the stuff I'm selling, and they just like put you down, put the car down, all this stuff, and then lowball you. And then when you come back at them and say, okay, I'll do it, if you're serious and actually have money and want to buy this car, let's do it, you know. And then they're like, oh no, you're a punk, blah blah blah. And then there was one time I replied to a guy and I said, Jesus loves you. And I feel like every part of this demonic force inside of him came out, and he came at me and just said, he loves you too, I'm sorry to be like that, or whatever. And he like gave me a whole page rant. And I'm like, wow, that almost seemed like Jesus rebuked that demon that was inside of that guy just from his name. And there's a song that I absolutely love. It's from the people that do Elevation Church, and it's I Know a Name. I know a name that can conquer the grave. I don't know. I can't remember off the top of my head. I got too many thoughts in my head right now. That can silence roaring waves. I know a name. Who can... Damn it, I can't think of it. We're gonna have to throw it on. I freaking want to listen to it now. I doubt it's on the radio, but no. Yeah, so it's a good song. You guys should go listen to it. There's power in the name of Jesus, and I truly think that and see that as an experience in my life. That's one thing, guys. Like, I'm not blindly believing in Jesus. I'm not blindly a Christian. There's been plenty of evidence for me to be like, okay, maybe this is true. There was another instance on Facebook where a guy commented on one of my paramotor videos and was like, hey, he just said some really evil stuff. And I said, this guy seems like he's possessed. Literally. He's super evil. And I said, I'll be praying for him, and demons flee at the name of Jesus. And I checked my phone at like 3 in the morning because I woke up in the middle of the night, and he deleted his comment. He made the comment before he went to bed, and that was literally, I'm going to have to try to find it in Proverbs, and I'll put it in the description. And if I don't, remind me. But there's a verse, I'm pretty sure it's in Proverbs, that says that these demons can't sleep until they're doers of the evil. Like, once they do the work of the evil, or do the work of the devil, then they can rest. That's the only way they find rest. They can't find rest in the light. They can only find rest in the darkness. So just pray for all these people out there that are doing these things, and just pray for deliverance of them, because even the darkest souls can still find the light in Jesus Christ. So there's another thing that I shared on Facebook the other day after, I don't know, I was just, whatever. I'm going to read it to you guys quick. It says, the stress of selling all this stuff has been super high, dealing with scrounging up the extra cash for this big move. I was thankful for all my supportive people that know I'm selling stuff fairly and all that kind of stuff. Because I sold another motorcycle, a very custom motorcycle. Custom motor, custom turbo kit, the turbo Grom, if you guys know me from my other channel. I sold that to a guy, also extremely cheap, like, you know, whatever. And on the test ride, the bike started leaking coolant out of the radiator. And I was like, oh boy, you know, it's leaking a little coolant out of the radiator. The guy saw it while he test drove it. He lowballed me, and I'm like, hey, you see it's leaking coolant, you don't have to buy it, you know. He's like, nah, man. You know, he seemed like he worked on stuff and whatever. He's like, I'll buy it. I'll buy the bike with the coolant leak. He was aware of the coolant leak. He bought it. He still bought it. So I said, all right, no problem. He texted me that night and said, man, I really don't know if I want to deal with this project. Like, I got other projects right now. I needed a bike that ran and, you know, ran good and all this kind of stuff, and some for my wife to ride. And he bought a stretched, turbocharged, engine swapped Honda Grom that's like 2 inches off the ground. So I just said, like, maybe you should have bought a stock bike, you know, just curious, maybe you should have done that instead. But then he texted me the next day and said, hey, I just did a compression test on it and there's no compression. And I'm like, what? Like, it had a coolant leak, not a hole in the block. You know what I mean? So I was like, just dealing with this guy was super frustrating, because he picked it up knowingly that the bike needed attention before riding it. Proceeded to ride it that night, probably aggressively, and then texts me the next day and says it has no compression. And then he says, or I said, dude, it had a coolant leak. Like, what did you do? Did you go piss pound this thing all night, you know? So he rode it that night, had to have, and then texted me the next day and said there's no compression in the motor. So he, I just said, dude, just bring me the bike back. I'll give you your money back. Clearly you don't want to deal with this thing, whatever, just bring me the bike back. And he's like, well, I really like it. And he was playing these games back and forth. And I'm like, you either bring me the bike back today and I'll give you your money back, or you fix it on your own and you keep it. So he ended up bringing me the bike back. Sure enough, no compression in the motor. It's spitting water out of the spark plug hole like it's got, you know, a head gasket or a cracked cylinder or something like that. So yeah, I lost out. I lost an engine in my Grom and gave the guy's money back, and I didn't even get to enjoy blowing it up. So that was frustrating. That was extremely stressful yesterday, but I feel God pulled through last night. And you guys, I don't know if you know, but Kenny, the guy that does a lot of the high performance Grom stuff, reached out, and I'm sending the bike down to him and we're gonna get it going again. So pretty excited about that. And yeah, I think it's gonna be an awesome little setup, and I think it'll be cool to make more videos with it, because that bike specifically has the most views on my YouTube channel, on my other channel, than any other video that I have. So maybe that would be a great way to spread the gospel using that bike. So I think that's what I'm gonna try to do. Get it going again, maybe make another video with it, and then do that. So yeah, and I've had a lot of leg pain because I have back pain, and sciatica runs down my leg, and this thing's just been killing me. It just, yeah, could be worse. I'm not trying to complain because my life is amazing, you know. I'm not, it's just sometimes this stuff is, you know, sometimes complaining about it feels good to get it off your chest and out of you, you know, like you spit it out and then it kind of frees your mind a little bit when you just talk about it instead of having everything in your head. A lot of times I'll just be bottled up with all my thoughts in my head and I won't actually let them out. So that's kind of another reason that I'm doing this channel, is just to try to get it out. So yeah, I'll finish this Facebook post and then we'll read a little bit in Mark. Yeah, so I said I'm excited for this new chapter for me and my family and my business with this new house and shop and everything like that. But I said the devil still lurks through a lot of lost souls out there, and every one of their actions is scary biblical, which I do see that. I said I pray everyone's hearts be open to the trickery of this world, and also be open to know their Heavenly Father is also with us to triumph over the wicked ways of the world. Jesus truly paid for all the sin of mankind. Even the most lost souls can still come to see the light, in Jesus' mighty name. And I wear a wristband that is Joshua 1:9, and it says, be strong and courageous, do not be afraid, do not be dismayed, for your God is with you wherever you go. And that night too, I was at the gas station and there was this lady there, and I'm actually wearing two of them today. There was a lady at the gas station crying. There was this guy bossing her around, all this kind of stuff, and I walked up to her and I gave her my wristband that I was wearing, and I just said, hey, you know, I just wanted to bless you with this wristband, and just so you know that God is with you, and whatever. And she lit up, man, like a Christmas tree. It was so cool to spread that to her. And she started talking to me that she'd been reading about Paul and Timothy in the Bible. She was talking about these characters and these situations in the Bible, and it was just so cool to see, and so cool to be a part of. Just fellowship with other people and getting out and evangelizing a little bit and trying to spread hope instead of fear. So that's another reason that I'm making this channel, is I want people to have hope and rest in that hope of Jesus. So anyways, we'll read a little bit in Mark. Actually, I'll probably read the end of Mark 1 because I didn't on the other video, and we'll talk about the demonic stuff or whatever. So I think we left off in the last video of Mark 1 where Jesus called his first disciples. The Sea of Galilee saw, he said, I'll make you fishers of people. And then I ended it. So we're going to pick up in Mark 1 verse 21. And it says, they went to Capernaum, and when the Sabbath came, Jesus went into the synagogue and began to teach. The people were amazed at his teaching, because he taught them as one who had authority, not as the teachers of the law. Just then a man in their synagogue who was possessed by an impure spirit cried out, what do you want with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God. Be quiet, Jesus said sternly. Come out of him. The impure spirit shook the man violently and came out of him with a shriek. The people were all so amazed that they asked each other, what is this, a new teaching, and with authority? He gives orders to impure spirits, and they obey him. News about him spread quickly over the whole region of Galilee. Verse 29, as soon as they left the synagogue, they went with James and John to the home of Simon and Andrew. Simon's mother-in-law was in bed with a fever, and they immediately told Jesus about her. So he went to her, took her hand, and helped her up. The fever had left her, and she began to wait on them. That evening after sunset, the people brought to Jesus all the sick and demon-possessed. The whole town gathered at the door, and Jesus healed many who had various diseases. He also drove out many demons, but he would not let the demons speak because they knew who he was. Very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up and left the house and went off to a solitary place when he prayed. Simon and his companions went to look for him, and when they found him, they exclaimed, everyone is looking for you. Jesus replied, let us go somewhere else, to the nearby villages, so I can preach there also. This is why I have come. So he traveled throughout Galilee, preaching in their synagogues and driving out demons. So he's traveling around here, not just sticking in one spot. A man with leprosy came to him and begged him on his knees, if you are willing, you can make me clean. Jesus was indignant. indignant. Sorry. He reached out his hand and touched the man. "I am willing," he said. "Be clean." Immediately the leprosy left him and he was cleansed. Jesus sent him away at once with a strong warning. "See that you don't tell this to anyone." This is the only part that kind of messes with me a little bit. It says, "See that you don't tell this to anyone, but go show yourself to the priest and offer the sacrifices that Moses commanded for your cleansing as a testimony to them." Because all of those things that they did, you know, the sacrifices that Moses commanded, you know, the animal sacrifices in the Old Testament and stuff like that, he said, go do that as a testimony to them. So I don't know if he's trying to say that didn't work and I was the only one that healed you, or what he's trying to say there. But instead, he went out and began to talk freely, spreading the news. As a result, Jesus could no longer enter a town openly, but stayed outside in lonely places. Yet the people still came to him from everywhere. Because Jesus, and that was the end of chapter 1. But Jesus went to these places and was overwhelmed. And I feel like this sometimes too with my business, is the more I advertise and the more I, you know, brag about my work and all that kind of stuff, the more people come to me and it gets to be too much. I know nothing is too much for Jesus, but it's just something that I'm thinking of in the moment here. Yeah, and he healed the people that work to get to him. You know, the people that put in the work to seek Jesus were healed. The people that, you know, maybe stood in the line because they heard from this guy and that guy and maybe didn't have true faith in Jesus, he's just like, all right, I'm out of here. I don't know, maybe. Just speculation, just thoughts in my head. But yeah, I do think if you truly seek him for yourself and truthfully seek him in your whole heart, that he'll meet you where you're at. You know, he'll reveal himself to you. Just gotta keep praying and keep seeking him. Get in the word, try to find him there. And yeah, so anyways, thanks for watching the video, guys. I hope you all have a great weekend and a happy Father's Day. God bless. My life is a lot better when I have Jesus at the center of my day and the center of my entire being. And yesterday was a good reminder that I had a terrible day and I was pretty far away from him. So yeah, love y'all. See ya.